Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. Keep in mind that everyone knows that in recent years, everyone else has failed to put forth a solid and mature plan forward. I'm the only one doing so. And we know this because they're not pointing to me. We know this because they're not obeying God through me. And actions speak louder than words. And on top of this, you see they're selling movements, MAGA, woke, Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians, independents alike. They're all just failing. And political groups in general. I'm not political. I lead on behalf of God. And the spirit of the righteous are with me. I'm the top martial artist ever. I'm more respectable than everyone else on the planet who's alive put together. And the kids should be able to tell you why. They're in rebellion, and I'm the son of God. It's very simple. So let's look at what, they're persecuting me over. So point number one, I'm the universally most righteous person that ever lived and ever will live. And I'm saying what should be done with the economy, etc. And obviously I'm religious. They say that they don't want people to look up to me, which is a vague statement. And they say that if I betray God, which is something I would never ever do, that they will see what they can do, which implies using psychology and small gifts to pretend that this very oppressive system magically isn't so bad. Now think about that. I should be running the entire world if the people on this planet had even a speck of decency, if they're anywhere near grown, right? If the people governing this planet were anywhere near men and women, I would be running this whole planet right now. The failure is unbelievably pathetic. Saying they have their pride is stupid. What they're doing is worse than raping a child and saying that they won't stop because they have their pride, and doing so on national TV. We are talking about fucking idiots here. If you have your pride, why did you let your people become gender neutral and white supremacists and MAGA and all kinds of fools from all kinds of countries that are led by evil people all over the world? It's every country. Why would you let that occur? Why didn't you fight to the death instead? Obviously your pride isn't worth a damn haypenny. Point number two, I am obviously not going to betray God, especially by pretending to be less. Quote unquote bless. Be less. Not going to do that. And on top of that, I would never consider using psychology to make myself feel better while doing some despicable thing like that. Point number three, they harass me daily and do stupid psychological tactics daily. Some of the things they do, in a sense, all the things they do are very immature, but some are extremely, extremely, extremely immature. They're unbelievably pathetic. They're frat-like nonsense. I mean, these are some weirdos. A lot of them have weird faces. All of them have a face that reflects that they're a punk. And they do stupid stuff daily. Point number four, every group that you can think of, except for the spirits of the righteous, and God's spirit, what have you, is involved in gang stalking, including Democrats. So they are saying to be their slave and to be a demon and to fucking sell out, and that will allow us to work together. My goodness, they are retarded. Very bad genes allow for that kind of stupid thinking, with nature and nurture both considered. Point number five, when you consider boarding school types, Masons, far right types like Nick Fuentes, Gaddis, people like Jeb Bush and so on and so forth, right? And various people that try to seem respectable while they're betraying God. And there's a lot of them, okay? There's a lot of people that try to carry themselves a certain way, what have you. There's people who try to exert power using psychology and a sort of costume, right? The word costume is a play on words for cost, you, me. And wardrobe for ward-D-O-B. Again, O-B, spelled O-B-I instead of O-B, O-B-E, excuse me. Means King Hard Hut Essence Center Temple Core. Kuro Obi means black belt. Obi means belt side of rank. Obi in the Igbo language means king. Obi spelled backwards is Igbo. Okay, so some of these people are like these guys in England, right? They have the wig wearing types, right? The English judges. with the white wigs, and obviously people don't think that's holy. They don't look up to it. That's like a theater arts game they're playing. It's psychology. It's not respectable. Point number 6. The social norm power trip dynamic that we see includes, church people on the right, and a spectrum of church people on the left. They're trying to lead up to a certain conservative church spectrum on the right, versus the woke gimmick types. It's like Prince Humperdinck from A Princess Bride versus Daniel Mouse and punk rockers together as the woke movement. Daniel Mouse from the cartoon movie A Devil and Daniel Mouse. So as I'm trying to explain the kind of spirits and the way they have about them, it's basically you have these arrogant guys on the right who are leading the masses of, and they're not just Donald Trump, right? They're also guys who are more textbook Republicans types, Republican types historically, okay, who will seem more professional than Nixon and Reagan, right, and Trump, and they're more like Bush to some degree, right? There's these guys. And it's very much it's a British system, so it kind of leads up to British conservatism, and they're all like Prince Humperdinck, some arrogant person, right, who treats people unfairly. You have people who are more reasonable seeming. Okay, you might say like this white guy from Training Day, okay, who was the main character. It's like him versus these arrogant rich people who want to be seen as superior, leading the masses of racists. But it's not just him. When we're talking about woke, it's mixed with like punk rockers. Okay, so you have like somewhat good, and you have the bad, and then on the right wing you have all the bad. But inevitably on the right wing, some of them are more like Daniel Mouse. Okay, but when you look at the overall spirit and the spirit projection, the mix, because what they're doing is so blatantly evil, and the fact that on the left you have people who are trampled in terms of image more, in a sense at least, and that causes this sort of effect to have, these people are more the victims, they're more in the right, they mean well. MAGA does not mean well. To play stupid about the fact that blacks are persecuted when the most racist groups in American history prioritized blacks. The Klan prioritized blacks. Everyone knows that the Klan went after black people the most. Someone today brought up some stupid argument. He said, why do Asians who come from these countries make more money than black people do? Well, first of all, when it comes to the true measure of a person, we have a Martin Luther King Day. We don't have a Jackie Chan Day, for example. Why? Because Jackie Chan is just an actor. We don't have a random person. I don't want to be disrespectful here, but think of some Asian name, maybe Lee or something other than Bruce Lee, and he works in a job and he makes lots of money. Maybe he's a nice guy, what have you. But he's not Martin Luther King material. So in popular culture, the person that's well known, who did the best, is a black person in all of American history. Even though black people right now are 12% in fact of America, and white people are 62%. So why, even though white people are over 5 times as numerous in America as black people, is the most successful celebrity a black person? And why do you sink to the level of making a comparison that doesn't make sense when you know Asians are nowhere near as sabotaged as black people? Black people stood for what's right. As a result, they're the most stigmatized minority, where Asians are considered the model minority, which means they're the most praised and helped minority. Okay? Then there's the fact that you went way out of your way to sabotage black people, and you even poisoned them and so on and so forth, right? Did all these experiments, the Flint water crisis, the asbestos in the neighborhoods. You went so far to bring drugs and alcohol. So many poisons, so many toxins, so many bad substances and materials to sabotage them. Eugenics, the eugenic movement in America overkilled that. You killed their leaders more, and eugenics on record by the guy who coined the term is about the sciences, is about using the agencies of social control to improve white genes and to impair black genes first and foremost, and then other races, to try to create a certain narrative, to try to fit a certain theater art show like you use with the theater of war, right? The political theater, okay? And you say life is a movie and life is a game because you people are playing a sick role-playing, sicko game like the British looking like the Nutcracker or something, where you all get together like Freemasons and you arrange things behind the scenes like the blue code of silence, the blue wall of silence, the code of silence in law enforcement. You do things in a certain way and everyone knows it. Why do you think you have secret societies? Why aren't they shut down by the government? Okay, certainly a lot of them are involved in corporate corruption. Why are they allowed to have secret societies when so many of them obviously must be corporate crooks when we look at it in terms of probability and statistics? And we look at a lot of these people were politicians, so we know a lot of these people were crooks. You know, Truman, the Roosevelts, George Washington. I didn't exactly lead the charge against slavery. These guys were bad guys. So why do you allow bad guys to have secret societies in your country? A lot of these Freemasons were in the Klan. Look at the history of it. In fact, Nathan Bedford Forrest, who's said to have started the Klan, was a Freemason. Albert Pike, who's one of the most respected Masons in history, okay, was a Confederate general. So why do you let these bad guys, horrible guys, have secret societies? These college frats who run trains on females all the time and get caught raping them and killing people and hazing rituals and die. Why do you let them keep doing that? Because you're bad guys and they're bad guys, and unclean birds of a feather flock together. Detestable, trampled worms of a feather flock together. My God Almighty has triumphed me over you cowards. Like Martin Luther King was triumphed over Bull Connor and the white establishment at the time. What have you? I have triumphed over you people, and will you go point by point with me about this? No, you suppress my comments more than everybody else. You suppress my videos more than everyone else, just like you persecute black people historically more than everyone else. And you wonder why they're more bitter than everyone else at times? You wonder why they don't get better grades than everyone else on average or so, or something? You downplay things like 93% of black males, adults, are employed, in spite of all the foul shit, all the white fragility, white guilt, white denial, white generational ill-gotten gains, white privilege. In spite of all these things, they still dust themselves off and go to work. Now, I'm not proud of them because they're not rallying and obeying God through me. They've been working hard. Who have they been working for? The devil and the token devil. And you all know it. You want to go point by point with me about whether or not what I said is racist? It's not. It's called truth. You want to go point by point with me about whether or not persecuting Christ is best for the white community and the Jewish community? You failed that argument in your own story, and you're failing that argument now. And you fucking know it. And it's fucking pathetic. There's two very general categories of Americans in a sense. One is more like George Bush, Jeb Bush, Ronald Reagan, Richard Nixon, Donald Trump. The other is more like Kid Rock and Justin Bieber, right? But there's various races. It's those who don't want to assimilate into society that way. When I saw Richard Nixon, for example, I knew I did not want to be like that. And if I ever lived in a neighborhood with people like that, I would avoid them. Hopefully I had a beautiful wife. And, hopefully I would have a beautiful wife in that situation. I spent a lot of quality time with her, and I'd avoid these people like Richard Nixon and these people like Walter Peck, these people who don't want me around, who hang out with females who say, "Hi, Sally," in that kind of, sort of way, like White Girls the movie, what have you. I'd avoid these people, not because they're white, but because they're unpleasant to be around. The people who saw more my way were more like Justin Bieber, right? Eminem, Kid Rock, what have you. Okay? Daniel Mouse from The Devil and Danny Mouse, the white guy from Training Day. They're more like, hey, we also don't want to be subjected to that boring lifestyle, that lame lifestyle, that board of education. Boring, boring, boring. We want to live our lives and have excitement and go do things, right? Go to the beach and go to the beach as someone who's exciting. And have parties that are more like our parties than their parties, okay? And there's different conceptions in that category. So it's like the generation gap almost. So that also factors in when you look at who's worth impressing, right? The football team and the basketball team, when I was in high school and college, they should see it more my way. right? And as they get older, they shouldn't be less cool as they get older. I just seen a gentleman right now who looked maybe about my age, I'm a little bit older, probably about 55, and he looked like a cool guy, right? You know, has some kind of jersey on, some kind of cool shoes, and this is, you know, these are differences here. And those people who are more like the cool guys, and the white people who might seem more like Reagan and Nixon, but who understand that we enjoy life more than they do, who would probably vote for someone in my category. We're supposed to be on the same side making this a fair country. Okay? We're not supposed to let the other side use straw men and fund controlled opposition movements to then prevent us from having our constitutional rights and making this a fair place. And that's part of why I'm mad at the English royals. I try not to insult them too much, mind you. Not because I'm afraid, but because I try to be fair. And I try to be gracious. Because they are really symbolic of a kind of variation of the types of people who don't want people like me to live their lives and look good and dress a certain way and show them up while dressing a certain way and being from a different culture.